Welcome to the best hour of their day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez
and me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
as both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better boxes. Welcome to
the best hour of your day.
Welcome back, Fern.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on the show.
You are the guest today. You are the special guest.
I appreciate you thinking I'm special. My mom also thinks I'm special, as does my wife, just different ways.
I cannot wait to see Jess Fernandez at the CrossFit Games. Logan and Chappie going to be there?
Absolutely not.
Just the two of you? Smart.
Just the two of us. Just the two of us. We are seasoned parents, unlike you.
I know.
Yeah.
These two are killing me.
No, she gets there Wednesday, so she's gonna be there for a good, like a really good hefty chunk of the week, which will be fun.
Yeah,
so,
I mean,
I'm a little nervous. I was trying to tell somebody this the other day. I've known my wife since 1999, so whatever that comes out to be, 24 years ish.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, it'll be almost actually 24 years to the day when we're at the games. And my wife, I don't know that my wife has ever actually seen me do like my thing, like in a seminar setting or like a podcast or anything like that. I'm a little nervous.
You want to impress your wife?
No, I'm just afraid she'll make fun of me.
That's going to happen. Knowing Jess, that will happen. Yeah, I mean, the last time I saw you and Jess, outside of Virginia Beach was when you were I was super hungover. The roles were reversed. Remember that time?
What are we talking about?
Jess came to the games. Logan was like an infant, like barely.
She was an infant. She Logan, both Jess and Logan made it into a Reebok commercial at some point.
Yeah, but what year was Logan born?
2014.
So that must have been that year at the games in Carson. And I remember getting on some sort of bus or something, like so hungover after the after party.
Oh yeah, because I would not have gone out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that was probably the last time I was drunk. So nearly 10 years ago.
That's really boring.
It was such a bad experience that I just was like, I don't ever want to feel like this again.
That's my experience every year at the games.
Yeah, well,
with the exception of that year that Jess was there. Yeah. Every year on Monday morning, I wake up questioning all of my decisions.
I think it was last year. You texted me, you're like, I just threw up in a Tesla.
No. That was a different weekend, but I did not throw up in a Tesla. I wanted to.
Okay.
That was, I think that's when we were in San Diego. I think that's when
that might have been
Marcus or something like that.
Yeah.
I think you had left already.
But I've gotten many texts like that from you. But point being, yeah, I got
food poisoning. That's what Jay's referring to. I got food poisoning.
Yeah. No, it's always the worst because you're like exhausted, early flight on Monday, and you're like, feel like I never want to feel this bad again.
I stopped having early flights about 6 years ago. Yeah. Like the travel team, they would send me flight options, and I'd be like, "Why are you sending me this? You know better. Don't send me anything before noon." But the other thing was, so when they wrap up the games on Sunday, there's like a weird, like mad dash to like get yourself together and then like congregate with everybody so you can kind of start the party, and everybody forgets to eat. Yeah. So you go from an exhausting week into a rager where you don't eat until like 1:30 when magically somebody orders, a couple dozen pizzas for the after party in the room back there, which is always a terrible idea. But no.
We're going to have to keep the Five Guys tradition alive this year for the team.
You already know I'm down for that.
Saturday night. All right. So I was saying you're the special guest here because you recently, it's been a month now.
Month. Yeah. Month and a half. Yeah.
You participated in Tasha's Big Fish fundraiser this year.
I did. Funny story. When he sent me an email, maybe November-ish, The email read as if I had won something.
You win the
And
opportunity to suffer for 48
correct.
hours. Yeah.
At which point I gleefully accepted my winnings, and really didn't understand what I was going to be doing until about maybe a week out.
So we're getting ready to host our 4th annual Big Fish Foundation fundraiser, and I keep getting asked the question, like, what is the fundraiser? What do you guys do? Ultimately, it's not even a fundraiser. It's sort of dual purposes, but the fundraising aspect is mildly interesting compared to the actual event. And why are we doing this event? So we bring a whole bunch of veterans in from all branches of the service, and we pair them up with professional athletes and celebrities, and we put them through a 30-hour ordeal. We want to test the skills and abilities, their communication, their teamwork, their camaraderie, all of these things while they're under stress in a competition, in order to say, hey, these are the things that get you through struggles in life. And ultimately, we're just creating that family again and having a transmission of culture from both civilians and military individuals. And we lay some leadership in there. We eat together, we work out together, and we do a little bit of work together, the 3 pillars of the Big Fish Foundation. So while this is primarily an event, we are doing it as fundraising. We need money to support our program so that we can continue to impact veterans. We're on target this year to impact over 400 veterans, and we have goals through 2024 and 2025 of doubling that number. And the reality is it takes money, it takes people offering resources and opportunities. So we do this as an event, as a program, in hopes of inviting a bunch of people in to impact and make change in their lives, and wanting them to share it with their communities and to say, hey, if you like what we're doing, we could use just a little bit of support.
I was like, oh, I'm going to go help with this fundraiser or whatever. And then they were like, I think there was a social media post, it'd be like participants. And I was like, oh, that changes everything about my mental.
I was under the
space with
impression you
regard
were
to-
volunteering.
As was I.
I was like somewhat frustrated. I was like, why is Fern going to this thing? Like, we're so busy. I just had a kid. And I'm like, he's going to volunteer.
Yeah.
And then
Like that has anything to do with me, by the way.
but then I'm like, oh, he's doing this thing.
It was really cool, man. And I'm glad I got the opportunity to do it. I'm glad it panned out the way that it did. It was just cool. It was a cool experience. I like to do something pretty hard every year. I like to do something kind of random on no preparation and training. Last year I did the Boston Frogman, it's a 3-mile swim in the Boston Harbor. That one was whatever. That was not that hard. It's one of the easier things I've ever done. With regard to this type of stuff, this one was for sure probably the hardest. A little soft talking there, for sure the hardest.
Well, and I'm fascinated and I want to hear more about it. So let's talk about it. You flew, I want to say you flew into Denver on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, and the event didn't start till Friday.
I flew out on Wednesday, and pretty sure I flew out on Wednesday. I was there several days early.
It was enough time that I thought I might be able to swing by it. You were not a priority.
It's enough time for me to know that you were never going to swing by. And so I flew out a couple days early just to to hang out and acclimate, kind of, because it's up in the mountains. I don't know what the actual altitude is there, but it's got to be higher than Denver. So I just kind of wanted to get myself prepared and kind of see what it was about and just chill for a little bit, because obviously the event is really rigorous, and I didn't want to just roll in there and then roll right into that. So
let's talk about it. So let's give more context. The Big Fish Foundation, that's Tasha's foundation, and that helps support.
I spent 20-something years in the Marine Corps, and upon retiring, I thought I had to keep it inside and be this super strong figure that was resistant to anything and everything. After struggling for a handful of years, and I finally opened up and started talking to some people, I decided, like, hey, I need to reach a network of Marines and veterans and try to help them. The Big Fish Foundation's mission is to reconnect veterans with their service values and recreate that camaraderie and sense of service in order to pay it forward back to their communities. At any given moment when I find myself doing a task or I'm struggling, all I have to do is just say, hey, you know what, Tosh, just suck just a little bit less right now than I could or I want to. Don't give in, don't yield right now, don't weaken.
It's suicide prevention, but very much preemptive. So the way he would describe it is there's a ton of organizations that are either centered around, essentially time of event or post event, meaning like either an attempted or, whether successfully or not, suicide. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to move further back on that timeline so that we never actually get to the event, that we can divert the veteran off of that trajectory, whatever it might be, whether it's, whether they just need an outlet, whether they need a community, whatever they might need in there, but not in the traditional sense of here's your healthcare providers and all that. It's a little bit more of a, I would say like organic / holistic approach with regard to just creating good human connection coupled with some hard work and family setting, essentially. And I hope I'm doing this justice, but I think everybody kind of gets the idea. But that's what it's all centered around.
Cool. So, and for this event, each branch of the military was represented by someone, and then there were athletes as well.
So there was Coast Guard, Navy, Marine Corps, Army. I can't remember if there's somebody in the Army there, but for sure, Coast Guard, Navy, Marine Corps, and I'm pretty sure the Army. I'm blanking on some of that. And then there were some athletes, some of which were previous participants, and then some of which were kind of, I guess like in our quotes, celebrity athletes. Josh Bridges was supposed to be there for some reason. He had to withdraw. I don't remember why. Brookins was there. Julian Alcaraz was there from Street Parking. So it was cool to get to hang with people, and then the way he does the events is very unique too.
Yeah, so that's what I'm fascinated by, because I love that idea of just like a long suffer fest. I'm interested to hear how it went specifically for you, knowing you definitely did not do any sort of specific training for this other than
I didn't no preparation.
Yeah, other than life. And I want to hear all about it. And by the way, how much money were you able to raise?
I think just over $5,000. I had to go back and check.
That's awesome.
I wanted to do 10, but I think I got like a late jump on the fundraising. That was completely on me.
No, but that's amazing that you're able to do that. And assuming everyone that you just mentioned does that, we're talking 25 to 50 grand for this great charity. And I'm sure
they had set a goal of 200,000, and I believe fundraising is still open. So you can go look, and it's just Big Fish Foundation. And I think the last time I checked, they were at like 155,000 of the $200,000 goal for this year. So
awesome. So tell me how you find out what the event is.
You find out right before the event. So
like moments before.
So I'll give everybody like a brief overview. So the event is 30 hours. So it starts at 9 a.m. on Friday morning.
It must be if it's there.
Yeah. Friday for 9 a.m. on Friday morning is like, bam, we're going. And then the event finishes at 3 p.m. on Saturday. So it's a full 30 hours. There is no sleep. And there's really not really any downtime. So you go from event to event to event. So each event, but after the close of each event, I think it was like a 10-minute window. So that 10-minute window is time for like, go to the bathroom, change your shoes or clothes, eat something, all the while Tosh is also simultaneously briefing the next event. So you finish the event and he's like, here's the next event. And then you're just looking, he's like, and go.
So
So there's essentially no breaks for 30 hours.
but it's a 30-hour. I would call it event, but you're referring to everything. So it's a 30-hour endeavor, and throughout that 30 hours, there's multiple events. How many events were a part of the 30 hours?
That's a good question. I want to say it's like 6 or 7. I might be making that number
They're
up.
long events.
Oh, they're long event. So that was part of one of the things that's a little weird. So it's weird as a CrossFitter, primarily as my training of choice at this point, where somebody kicks off and says this event will last for 6 hours.
You're like, I usually 12 minutes is long.
Right.
Yeah.
And that could be, hey, a combination of row, do a loop on the mountain, and then some, like it could be any number of things. So that in and of itself is a lot. And then you're 3 hours into an event, you're like, oh, we're halfway, so, and then he doesn't tell anybody about any, and anytime he does these or diesel day, all of them are different. So they're never the same. There's components of it that are very similar, so like the loop, but he's always changing the loops on the mountain too. He's always like carving new paths on the loop. So it's always kind of unique in some sense there. So yeah, you find out what the next event is as you're going into the next event. And it may be a team event, it may be an individual event, it may be a pairing of 2, it may be teams of 3 or 4. There was a little bit of everything. And then I think there was one event that was like teams of 6, I think.
So like basically half and half at that point.
Yeah, and you're competing essentially. And sometimes I think he just kind of makes it up on the fly. He's just like, and go. And then he'll just change it on the fly. Like one time I forget what it was. He had all these logs that they had cut down from the mountain, and we basically had to chop them up. So he gave these little hatchets, and you and your team were just like chopping up these big logs. And then he'd just be like, make a loop. So like you and your whole team would have to grab your sled, and you would have to do the short loop on the mountain with your sled. You come back and you start going at it again. And then he would just be like, make another loop, go the other direction, so you'd go the opposite direction now. So it was just stuff like that where it was still, the event was there, but like sometimes you still didn't really know what was going on in the event. Like you still had to be directed. And then not all of it was physical. The vast majority of it is physical, but there was other stuff where we took a series of quizzes and we had to put together like a 300-piece puzzle at which point I was zero help to Brooke Ince in that scenario.
6 or 7 events. I would imagine you don't remember them all in detail, especially being sleep deprived. But can you give us like one full event?
The one we did in the middle of the night on Friday, it was essentially a ladder. So like you and your partner, you would make a short loop up the mountain, and you would do 50 pull-ups, and you would come back down. And then every time you did that, you would add something to the round essentially. So it's kind of like a 12 days of Christmas type deal. And this is like I think this was a 4-hour event. So there was a 205 deadlift in there. There were burpees. Each time you did the event, they had a 5-minute crack at your puzzle. What else was in there? Brooke was my partner for that one, and I actually ended up being her boyfriend Todd, because as we were walking back on the first loop, she ate it hard and sprained her ankle like really, really bad. Oh, wow. And she had already sprained her ankle like once on the event. So then she and I kind of paired up when I went back to the house, and then Todd would do the loops with me. Anyway, so it was kind of like that, where it's just like you're just doing this grind. You go up there, you do 50 pull-ups, you walk back down, you carry your sandbags back up the loop, you do your 50 pull-ups, you come back down, you do your burpees, and then every time it's like, all right, now you got to do whatever 50 deadlifts at 205 or something like that. I think there was a toes to bar in that one as well. And just doing that for 4 hours, so.
And so basically the entire 30 hours was some sort of form of that. So you're just moving, like you said.
You're constantly moving, whether it be on a skier, a rower. One of the events was like you and your teammates were on either the rower, the skier, or the Concept 2 bike the whole time for like 6 hours. So like you would be on the bike and then you would do as many calories as you could. And then maybe your two other teammates were basically just doing a loop on the mountain until they got back, and then you would switch.
How exhausted were you by the end of this?
There's a point like at around the 25, 26 hour mark where there's like a little bit of delirium that sets in. So it's, you know, you're past the 24-hour mark at 9 a.m. It's 10, and you're kind of in a weird mental state. You're like, all right, well, we're over 24 hours, but we, for all intents and purposes, still have a full work day left. Like this isn't over till 3 p.m. You have another 6 hours left of this, which is, that's a hard one to chew, to bite off on. You're like, that seems really far away. Even though I've just done 24, this seems really, really far away. Really tired. I was, one of the things that I struggled with the most, and this is actually I think this was the most beneficial part of the whole event for me, was, so probably 3.5 hours into the 30 hours, I started getting like really bad IT band issues. So anybody who's ever had like IT band issues, like it's a hard, in air quotes, injury or thing to deal with, because if it gets bad enough, it's like, it's quasi debilitating. Like it becomes very hard to walk, much less like go up and down the mountain. And I could feel it coming on like early on. And I was just like, oh, fuck. I'm like, this is going to be bad. Like I'm going to struggle quite a bit if this gets worse. And it kept getting worse, kept getting worse, to the point where they're like, all right, go make the loop. And I'm like, I don't know if I can make the loop. Like, I physically don't know if I'm capable of making the loop.
And you say loop.
So there's multiple different loops that he's cut on the mountain. So some of them are shorter. So there's like an internal loop, there's an external loop. So like the big loop is 1.5 miles. And it's up and down, right? So you go along the backside, you come up what he calls a fire break, where he's chopped down a bunch of trees. Like if there's a fire, it would stop right there. And then back towards the house. So they all kind of culminate at the house. And it's a lot. And lots of it is multiple points of contact. So you're not just walking, right? Some of them are like the fire break is probably more than a 45-degree incline. Like it's straight up, you know. It's like hands on the ground or hands on your knees as you're walking up. There's no running up that hill. But that was kind of, and I told Mark England this, like that was, I had to like really settle into that. I was just like, oh, this is where we're at. Like, this is what's happening. So, you know, we deal with it. And it ended up in hindsight that, because I don't know, it would have been hard. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to come off as braggadocious, like, but I don't know how hard it would have been had I not dealt with that. It would have been for sure hard, but I would have been like, okay, that was really hard.
But having an injury on top
Right.
of everything else just makes it.
Well, it just makes the whole thing different. It makes your approach to everything completely different. So it was good. But yes, it's interesting to watch people go through suffering, myself included, I'm sure.
Without like giving names, like what was a great example of someone that just was like in the pain cave?
Not necessarily someone, but I will tell you, so there's a lot of CrossFitters at this event, right? So just generally speaking, and then there's some people don't do any CrossFit, but in events like this, people who are very clean eaters struggle a lot.
You need calories, right?
You need calories. So just intake of any sort is the name of the game, because you're not going to get a ton of really clean. It's not like you're sitting down and eating a grass-fed steak. It's just like, can I have some of those M&Ms, a little bit of coffee, and squirt that Gatorade in my mouth? Like that's just for 30 hours. So a lot of people were having stomach issues with regard to that. Luckily,
You're just like, this is my normal diet.
I'm a human garbage disposal. So I was just like, oh, I'm good. Like, that's fine. I mean, you're not good, but like, I'm like, I can tolerate this. This is fine. I prefer not to be eating this, but it's not going to be that.
But you just need energy at that point, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's just, I mean, at one point, like somewhere 30 hours, I was drinking a beer and had a chew and coffee at the same time. Like it was fuck, whatever, Um, it's just honestly, it was just like for some levity in the scenario. I'm like, listen, if I can't drink a beer right now, then I'm not in the right headspace.
Yeah, I'm trying to do well. I want to feel okay, but I also want to enjoy this.
Well, and it's like not that serious.
Right.
So, one point somebody was like, "Do you need anything?" And I was like, "No, I'm good." And I was like, "Actually, I need that water bottle back over there. I need that big bag of chew, a spitter, and some coffee." And then like immediately all three of them. So I'm just rowing away with a huge honking chew in my mouth. And I was like, I'm good for about 30 minutes with this. I'm fine.
You hear people going through boot camp or buds, and they're like, just get to the next meal or whatever. And it sounds like that's what it was.
Yeah, it's just like, just finish the evolution, get to the next, not even the next meal sometimes, just get to the next evolution. Just don't think about anything other than finishing this evolution.
If you start and you think to yourself, I got 30 hours of this, it's daunting versus like, I just have to do event 1.
Yeah, just do event 1. Now, there's, I don't know that you can avoid thinking about the next day at 3 p.m. Like it's there, but you have to shift pretty quickly. It's just like, hey, just get up the hill, just get up there, and then we'll get to the next marker, and then I'll get to the next marker, and then I'll get to the next marker, or I'll pull this for 30 seconds and then I'll reevaluate. So yeah, I think I've heard Andy Stump say this, but like you make your world real small. You make the times real short. You don't think too far out into the future. It's just what's in front of you, and that's it.
I think people with the strongest mindset, especially in athletics, but probably anything like that's how they think about it, right? Like, I just have to do the next small thing. Like, that's a great way to put it. Keep it small. How long would you say it took you to recover?
Oh, probably. I mean, I went to see my kind of like a shaman today to get my body put back in alignment. I mean, the knee issue thing was bad. Like I could barely walk the next day, and it was weird. Like when we were done, I went to bed, and then
At
I woke
Tasha
up.
still?
Yeah, because we were staying outside in these big canvas tents, and I woke up, and I had to go to the bathroom like 4 hours. I think I maybe slept for 4 hours, and my leg was locked. Like I was like, oh fuck, I'm not gonna be able to make it to the bathroom. Like I can't fucking go uphill to go pee. Like it was excruciating. So it probably took another 5 days after that before that started to calm down, and my leg, like I could walk normally afterwards.
And I assume you're home getting zero sympathy from Jess because she's like, you chose to do this.
No, I mean, like, listen, my wife is a hard ass, but like, she's not a complete, demon. She understood, and I forget what did I get back. I got back on a Monday, Tuesday, maybe Monday, and it was good. But she could tell. She was like, she's like, you look like shit. I was like, I feel like shit. So it was good. But I tell you what, here's what I think is interesting. As CrossFitters, like we do, the workouts are hard, but I've always described it like this. They're not really that mentally challenging in most instances. They're physically challenging,
Even
but they're too short to be really mentally challenging. And this is where I think every affiliate owner should have to go do a diesel day.
I've heard nothing but amazing things about every
diesel day.
It's
24 hours. It's 24 hours. So that's a little bit it's different. And I really can't speak to diesel day. I can only speak to the fundraiser, and there's a lot of similarities there, but they are different. But the outcome is kind of similar with regard to what you have to deal with. But I think sometimes that is what affiliate owners lack, is this ability to actually zoom in instead of zoom out, right? Meaning like, hey, I don't need you to worry about all these things. I need you to do this task, and then just get really good at doing the task, because that way you're going to knock things out. And, like we work with hundreds of affiliate owners, and a lot of times they'll get overwhelmed because they're looking too far down the road. And then what happens is they get overwhelmed, they don't get the task at hand, and then the feeling of failure sets in, at which point that's reinforced by not asking for help. And then it becomes this cascading effect that just keeps going. And sometimes just like, just do the task at hand. And that's kind of a lot of how we coach people. It's just like, this is your checklist moving forward. Don't do anything else. If anything else comes up, the answer is no. Do that checklist, and then we'll move to the next one. But that's a skill set, is to be able to, put the blinders on and just do what is in front of you, which seems not productive at times, but it is, because I think we have a skewed view of time in a lot of senses, where, people are like, oh, well, this is going to happen. I'm like, that can wait. That could wait probably 3 months, much less you think it needs to get done today. Like, you didn't have that thing done yesterday. You didn't have it done 6 months ago. You've actually never had that done. And you're, for whatever reason, have made it an emergency and think you need to do it right now. And it's not that important.
And like you're saying, like in the CrossFit space, even a workout like Murph or some of the other hero workouts.
An hour.
Yeah. Like, and you're never like, I don't think I'm going to make it. Right. It's like, this is hard. And by the way, even if I don't feel like I can make it, I'm going to scale or change something. Right.
Right.
And you're kind of done with it. So no, I think in general, I mean, you and I talk about it. People are talking about it these days, like very easy not to do anything challenging.
Yeah. And I've done a, and you always laugh at me because you're like, what are you doing? You're not going to prepare it. I'm like, no, but that's kind of the point. The point is to go there. And there's a saying for it. I forget what it's called. Sarah Wilkins was telling me there's a phrase for this. It's like,
you fail at the margins of our experiences.
That too. No, but there is a saying, and I can't remember, or it's a phrase for it, where there's a guy that wrote a book about it, but you do one challenging thing every year. And it has to be something that has at least a decent likelihood for failure. So it can't be somebody like, oh, I'm just going to do it, and there's no way I'm not going to do it. There has to be some risk for failure when you take on this task. And I can't remember what it's called, but it's important because it reframes everything. Things seem not hard after that. You're like, oh, okay, cool. And you train your brain to think in these smaller bites, which when challenging scenarios come up, you immediately default into like, what's the first task? Like, what's the first thing I need to get done in order to start chipping away at this? No different than it is in business. The timelines are just a little bit longer. It's not there's no physical duress in the business game. I mean, maybe stress, but not like working out physical duress. It's the mental piece. And I think that a lot of times that's the part we forget to train, which is like, how do you deal with this shit? This is going to last 6 months.
Yeah, and it's one thing to think about it from the perspective of as an athlete or someone doing CrossFit, but even as an affiliate owner, right? Like, there's stressful times, and if you've gone through something that's 30 hours, all of a sudden, like dealing with a crappy member or just a busy time of your life, isn't this overwhelming idea?
Well, so it's twofold. So it's like, hey, just being able to kind of chop things up and compartmentalize them so that you can actually get something done. And then the idea that you're not going to do this by yourself, so stop trying to.
And we talked about it on a recent episode. You talked about it at the mastermind that we had. Like, that was a big part of what you learned. And you mentioned it earlier of like, get me the chew, get me the water bottle, like asking for help.
Yeah, asking for help. And that was, I mean, a lot of people had a huge breakthrough for that at the mastermind. But the cool part was I did Big Fish fundraiser 1 week. I did the mastermind with Marcus the following week. And then I did our mastermind the week after that. So I did those 3 events in a 3-week period. And so I was able to take all of that and then roll them into the mastermind. And one of them was just like, ask for help. Like, stop trying to do this by yourself. Like, nobody's going to do this alone. Whether it's do this event or be an affiliate owner. Yeah, you're the owner, but you're not going to coach all the classes. You're not going to do all the things. Like, learn to ask for help and learn to be a humble leader, which sometimes means you need to ask for help. And I was like, that was a huge component of the event. And because the event is what it's completely supported. So your job is just to do the event, nothing else. Like, you should never want for anything in the event. That's why there's no breaks. There's no nothing, because you're not so there's like self-supported events and there's fully supported events. Self-supported event means like you are responsible for all your own stuff. And then there's the fully supported, which is like, hey, people will literally come over and rub your feet for you if you need it. And I did have people do that, right? I was just like, I'm in a lot of pain. Like Andrea Seward Smith, she was like, I think I can make your leg feel better. And I was like, do whatever you think will make this feel better. And she was like laying on my leg. Like I was like borderline crying. And I was like, anything to make this stop, like just make it go away.
Yeah, Andrea strikes me as someone who knows how to do that for some reason.
She loves that stuff. She's all into that. And Chris was there. He was like, you're my personal hype man, you know. But yeah, and it was all sorts of stuff. So there was some shooting events in there, sled pulls, like a lot of going up and down the mountain. You know, there's sandbag carries, like all sorts of crazy stuff that's just grunt work. You know, it's like chop that log into how many pieces? As many as you can.
Tasha's meanwhile just getting housework done. He's like, clean that bedroom.
Right. And then you think you're done. You're like, we finished the log. He's like, go get another one. You're like, oh shit.
And that's part of it, right? Like,
yeah,
thinking you're done and there's more to do, and being able to process that. And I would imagine as the day goes on or night goes on, that stuff becomes harder to deal with.
Which part?
Just like the idea of like, oh, I finished it. No, I didn't.
No, I think you start to settle in a little bit. It's just like, it's like, what is this next event? Like how good or how much am I going to struggle with the next event is really the question, you know? So it's, I thought it got mentally easier, meaning like it just, we're here, we're doing it. Like there's nothing we can do about it. Like we're just there. Like we're navigating the scenario, and we'll be done when we're done. So there's no point in thinking about when that is. That time stamp is out in the future. It's decided, and my job is to be here and be present and do my best. And so that makes it a little bit easier, I think, when you stop worrying about when are we done. Like we're done when we're done. So just keep going.
Well, yeah, maybe as it goes on, you actually are like, this is going to end. So
it will end.
Yeah.
It gets a little closer, but that still seems really far away. You're like, oh, 10 hours, like we're close. And you're like, that seems, but then 10 hours seems, you know, further away than 6 as you get closer.
Yeah.
You know? But it was really good. It was a really good mental check-in, obviously for a good cause. So, you know, if you guys want to, I'd recommend please go donate. It's for a fantastic cause. I got to meet some cool people.
Hung out with, like you were saying, Brooke Entz, Julian, that's Miranda's husband, part of Street Parking. Who else? Other big names. Carlene Matthews was there.
Carlene Matthews was there. And then I'm trying to think of who else. I don't think there was any other names.
I'm sure like Jenny Orr stopped by. Nicole Carroll was
Jenny
there.
was not there. I did see Jenny on Monday. Nicole was there. Yeah, I mean, she lives there. So I'm trying to think who else might people.
Dave Kalina.
Yeah, he showed up a little bit. Rex was there. So, you know, so it was like good people. So it was good. There was a lot of familiar faces there, which was also good. But I also got to make some new friendships of people that I did not know. But it was just, you know, it's an environment where you get to see everybody really kind of open up and be vulnerable across a number of things. And I think that's really important.
What was your one favorite moment?
That's a good question. I don't know that I think honestly, my favorite moment was when it was all done, maybe like a week afterwards, just reflecting on it, about like what it was about, like how I had handled it, things that I was thinking about. But the event was good, but it's a lot to unpack when you're there. I mean, there's definitely some moments, you know, some emotional moments there. But for me, I think it was when it was all done, it's over, everybody's gone. You're like, just thinking about it. You're like, did I do a good job? Like, did I do my best? Like, what did I get out of this? How do I take this and transfer it into something useful for me or for other people? That's what I thought was the best part, because that's kind of why you show up there.
Well, and I think that's a great lesson too, right? You can take that same analogy back to the box. You finish a workout, cool. Like in that moment, maybe you got fitter, maybe you had a good time, but like, how can I use this to be better in life? Whether it's husband, partner, father, human being, right? Like, I've got to say, like, you've been nicer since then.
Full disclosure, you know, Jess asked me to. She's like, "What did you learn?" And I told her, I said, you know, I'm very fond of Tosh generally.
Yeah,
But
everybody that knows Tosh, I think, has a tremendous amount of respect for him.
But there's a certain side of Tosh that you get to see at these events that's not, I guess, open to the public, but it's just different. And I told her, I was like, I need to be a better leader. Like I need to like really like check in on my people a little bit more and ask them if I can help them. And not so like, it's okay, cool, I'm gonna ask for help, but I need to also ask them and teach them that they need to ask for help.
Yeah, I haven't noticed you've done that yet.
They might. I've asked you for help.
You've asked for help. You haven't done.
I've not checked in. Well, mostly it's because I need you to do things. I need you to do some stuff.
So you're giving me things so then you could check in on me.
I want you to have the experience of achieving things, and that means you're gonna have to do things.
I appreciate it. You know, that's one thing that's been missing in my life.
I'm doing it for you. Yeah, it was a good little check-in for me. Just not to say that I thought I was doing a bad job. It's just kind of, I think it's good to question it. Be like, am I doing a good enough job? Can I be better? If so, what would that look like? And how am I going to go do that? And and then obviously it's just a little bit of humble pie, because everybody has like these moments where you're like, this fucking sucks.
And that's life, right? It's just analogous for life.
Yeah.
It's going on. There's going to be some ups and downs, but we'll survive and get through this. Yeah.
So if you guys are interested, please go donate. Big Fish Foundation. If affiliate owners, if you guys want to learn a little bit more about that, Tosh, he has the diesel days, but go donate. I'm pretty sure fundraising is still open. But if it's not, reach out anyway and see if you can give them some money. But yeah, I think the big takeaway there is like, ask for help. You need to do hard things, particularly you're running a small business. It's not for the faint of heart. Like, you're going to go through some hard times. Like, you're going to fall on your face. There will be failures. You just keep going. What's the next evolution? What's the next target that I need to shoot at? And then just make your world small and go from there.
Love it. I'm really excited we got to chat about it. I've been wanting to learn more about it. And I'm going to see you next week. If anyone's listening to this, this is the week. CrossFit Games are here. Come see us at the games. We've got so much going on, but we've got a booth and we're going to have nonstop podcasts. So come check us out. And of course, the big announcement's coming.
It's coming.
It might actually be here already at this point.
I'm pretty sure it will be here already at this point. I believe we are recording this on Monday. That will be announced tomorrow and Tuesday, if I am not mistaken. However, that's your department, so you should know. I'm gonna ask you for help. I need you to just do a better job at your job. That will help me. That'll help me tremendously.
I'm just trying to get through this podcast. I'm trying to do one thing at a time. This is it. That's all I can think about.
I appreciate your dedication.
All right. Well, Fern, we got a big week coming up. And like you said, yeah, if you have questions about our big announcement, hit us up. Head over to our social media, best hour of their day. Cody or Christian will respond to you because it's a big announcement. Pat Barber's a big part of it. You and Pat were just together filming a ton of amazing content. And I'm excited for everyone to check it out.
Yeah. If you guys are going to be in Madison, come see us. We will be everywhere doing all the things at the affiliate, in the affiliate lounge, recording. I think we have at least 17 podcasts already scheduled. We will be there in full force with the whole team. Please come by and see us. We'd love to chat with you guys. And thanks for listening. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.